us for another episode of Making Room for More. I have a couple things I want to talk about tonight. As you can see, I'm pretty casual. It's been a busy day, but I had to include you on this part of the journey. Um, there's a couple boxes on the counter. I'll talk about those in a second. And I also wanted to just talk to you about my thoughts and my feelings and how this journey has impacted me, what's been going through my head, what's still going through my head. So that's my intent for today's time together. So first, I'll start with these. And yes, I normally would never allow boxes on my counter because I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, but I would definitely make sure I wipe them down after. But these are actually the medications that we will be using for our IVF cycle. And it's a little bit shorter this time just because we already had 2 embryos frozen. We don't have to go through the length of protocols and all of the medicines that we had to go through the very first time. So we can open them up. I opened them a little bit because I didn't want to make a bunch of background noise, but you will literally get the raw reaction of what's going on here. So let's see here. And one thing that I will say too, so as far as the medicines used for IVF, it's not like you just go into your normal CVS or Walgreens and just go fill a prescription. It is a specialty pharmacy that you have to work with. So they're very, I guess, unique drugs. And I will say too that if you're going to go through IVF or considering it, just know that it's a little bit of a pricey experience. So I would say all of these medications here probably cost right around $1,000. So that's just something to keep in mind if that's something that you're going through. But and I am not a medical professional. If we have medical professionals watching, I apologize in advance because I am no expert on all of these drugs. I actually prefer not to take a lot of medicine. Just in general, I like to kind of just use natural remedies or kind of wait it out. But if I'm feeling really, really, really horrible, I will resort to drugs. In this case, for us, this has been the option in order for us to conceive. And so, we going through the process the first time, obviously considered all of the different variables and decided to go this route. And so, for me, it's just kind of, I've been through this before. Obviously, this sitting here again is kind of throwing back all the memories from over 6 years ago when I went through this process the first time. So we have a few things in this first box here. And I'll kind of show you guys too. These are more so just instructions, so I will make sure I read those later. And there's a whole protocol that you have to follow in making sure that everything is good to go. But we have some needles here, and I believe that these are used for the progesterone oil. So some needles that will be used. This is progesterone oil that will be injected, I believe, into my buttocks. So I know before there was a medicine that I had to do in my stomach and then also in my butt. And I will say that I do not like needles. That is not my thing at all. And I was a little bit skeptical the first time. But Larry is a pharmaceutical rep. He actually sold insulin at one point in his career, and he had to do demonstrations on how to use the needle for insulin. So that definitely put me at ease. And he was a great, I'll call him doctor. I won't even call him a nurse. He was a great doctor during this time in terms of administering the drugs. I do remember one time I was on a business trip and I had to take one of the doses myself. So I was literally like in the bathroom stall and I had to put this medication in my stomach. That part I did not love, but we got through it. So anyway, here are some of the items. I think there's maybe a couple different size needles in here. Some sterile pads because you definitely might encounter maybe a little bit of bleeding. But I think importantly too are the alcohol prep pads. Obviously you want to make sure the area is clean. So you definitely want to have your alcohol prep pads. And then when it's all over, sharps container because you have to dispose of them the right way. So this is something, is bringing back a memory again. The sharps container to put the needles in. And there's some other things here. So these are estradiol, I might be saying that wrong, patches, but you literally just put the patch on your skin a few times a day from what I remember before. And a few oral pills that I will be taking as well. And I'll kind of push those to the side. We'll go with this other box here. This particular one has to be refrigerated, so we'll see what is in here. Sorry, I'll try not to make too much noise. So we have some Leuprolide, so some other medications that have to be injected. More instructions and information. I'll make sure that I read that later. And this is the one that I think actually has to be refrigerated. So I'll kind of show you guys here. So it's, in this box with the cool solutions here. And this is the Avidril. So I've got to make sure that gets into the refrigerator tonight. So those are the medications that I will be taking as we go through our IVF journey this time. I will say it's different because the first time it was just Larry and I, and so I could put basically all of my focus into making sure, you have to make sure that you take the medications at the same time. I think some of them had to be taken with food, and there's all kind of instructions that I will familiarize myself with again. But this time is a little different because we have two little people running around in the midst of all of this, and so I definitely have to be very intentional and focused. But I'm taking this time before it actually starts, and have been taking this time to mentally prepare myself. So I'm feeling good about it. I think also too because I've been through it before. I kind of know what it entails, and I know for some people, it can get very emotional. I think some of the medications you are actually putting hormones and things into your body, so there's like a natural reaction to all of those things. I was very unfortunate. I didn't really have any reactions, side effects. I didn't go through kind of this roller coaster of emotion or anything like that. So I'm expecting that again this time for sure. And I guess that's a perfect segue into kind of the other thing that I wanted to talk about is just how I've been feeling through this process. So I think we talked about it in one of the earlier episodes that we were not planning on having children at all. And my kind of journey even to come to that conclusion was certainly a big one. There's so many different things that I feel like had to be weighed and considered, and thoughts that ran through my head. And I think a couple of the big things were obviously the health, potential health risk. So, now that I'm currently a mom already, I think about like, oh, what if something happened? Like I have some other people depending on me. Like that was a huge thing that I thought about. And I think too, the other thing was just for Mitchell and Madison. Like right now it's Larry and I, and Mitchell and Madison. Our family is, a pretty tight-knit family, and so I'm like, I don't know how they're going to react to more people. I already feel pulled in, a lot of different directions just with them too. Like, how in the world am I going to be able to, be a mother to even more children? But, the reality set in, and we were like, hey, we have 2 more embryos. And we came to the conclusion that this is the journey that we wanted to take. And there's certainly some things that we've been doing to prepare. I would say for Mitchell and Madison's sake, because I think about how much their world is going to change. We've certainly been moving them in the direction of being more independent, even about simple things, making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and things like that on their own, because once 2 potential more children get here, they're going to require a lot of time and attention. And so we want them to start taking those baby steps towards, doing things that they can do for themselves. They're already pretty independent, but we've just been more conscious of that. And there's certain things that, Larry and I have been preparing for as well. I know for me mentally, I'm like, okay, I know that I'm going to have to take these drugs, and I know that I'm probably going to be more tired than I am now, but I've also, shifted some of my eating habits and have been very conscious about working out just to prepare my body even more so that I can be optimal, as we go through this process and beyond. And then also too, we've talked about doing making little adjustments to our household. And so we've said we'll want to get a nanny again, and certain things that we may be able to hire out, like, having someone clean the house, like simple things like that, so that it would take less of our focus and attention and we can be intentional about being with our children. I think the other big thing has been for Mitchell and Madison, we don't want them to feel like, they're not important to us or anything anymore. So we've said we're going to be still like make sure that we spend time with just them individually, but then also to them too, kind of as our family was before we had more. And so there's conversations like that have been happening for the last few months, ever since we kind of decided to revisit this thought and idea of having more children. So it's been interesting, but I think that I'm at a place now that I'm actually excited. Before I was probably a little bit more concerned, didn't really know if this is exactly what I wanted to do, but now I really do have a peace about the situation. And we had such a positive experience before. I'm expecting nothing less for this experience, and I know that we're equipped to do what we need to do, and we'll get there. So that's just a little peek. I will continue to include you as I'm taking the medications and doing everything throughout the whole process. But that's it for now. So please continue to follow us on our social media outlets. We'll make sure that information is included for you. And thank you once again for joining us on another episode. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.